Now, evangelical relief and development organisations such as Tear Fund, established in 1967, have been very important in this regard. They have given a conduit to evangelicals for their giving. They have also shown that evangelical social action can be effective in changing the lives of people in poor communities. Now, Tear Fund in the 1980s and 90s moved from not only being involved in community development, but also into advocacy and political involvement. I remember writing a letter to Tear Times letters page in the mid-1990s, recounting a story that Graham Cheeseman, the former principal of Belfast Bible College, related to me. It says that Mr. A was living in House A, Mr. B was living in House B, and Mr. C was living in House C. Now, Mr. A, who was very aggressive, went one day to Mr. B's house and hit him over the head with an iron bar. Now, Mr. B was bleeding very badly and went to Mr. C's house, who was a Christian. Now, Mr. C bound Mr. B's head up and sent him back home. The next day, very aggressively, Mr. A went to Mr. B's house and once again hit him with an iron bar. And Mr. B, bleeding very badly, went to Mr. C's house. Now, being very patient as a Christian, Mr. C binds his head up and sent him back home again. Now, this happened for 3 or 4 days, until Mr. C thought to himself, I should go and talk to Mr. A about this aggression. Now, we feel that this is a very Christian act, a charitable act of Mr. C to go and talk to Mr. A, and a very brave act, bearing in mind Mr. A's aggression. But when we realise that Mr. A is the government or the rich, Mr. B is the poor and the oppressed, and Mr. C is the church, this stops being a charitable act and becomes politics, and it makes us nervous. This short recounting of the engagement with evangelicals from 1910 up to today has revealed various important things. First of all, as evangelicals, we need to have evangelical organisations as a conduit for our giving. We don't trust secular organisations to deal with our money. We are much more comfortable with evangelical organisations we trust. Secondly, being very pragmatic, evangelicals want to see that the money that we give is being used effectively to relieve poverty and inequality. Also, we have seen that many evangelicals need a coherent theological articulation of why we should be involved in the lives of the poor and the marginalised. We need to move beyond the liberal social gospel or the Roman Catholic natural law to an understanding of why, through the cross of Christ, we should be involved with the lives of the poor. And finally, we need champions of this. We need people who will engage both theologically and practically in the work of holistic or integral mission. In the UK, John Stott has been very important in this area, as have many in the relief and development organisations such as Tear Fund, Compassion and World Vision. So where are we today? How deep is our engagement with the poor? Do we understand what holistic mission is or integral mission? Has it just become another phrase for development work? Can we truly engage with the poor and marginalised of this world so that they will both hear the salvation of Jesus Christ individually and have their lives and their communities transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ?